Jai. Welcome everyone for the Sunday morning session on this book called Science of Self-Realization. This book is a collection of various teachings of Prabhupada, the essays Prabhupada written before he left to America. And after he went to America and he started the Krishna conscious movement, Prabhupada met many prominent personalities across the globe. So he had wonderful conversations with them, wherein Prabhupada is giving the simple Vedic truths in a very wonderful and appealing manner. Right? So those recorded conversations are in this book. And also, there are some letter exchanges with Prabhupada with some prominent people across the world. So all these various aspects of Prabhupada's conversations and letters and his essays are all recorded in this book, are all compiled in this book and presented in a manner so that we can get a basic understanding of what is the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad. So this book we have been discussing since last 1 year. So today we are bringing to you a very wonderful and interesting topic. This topic is called Reincarnation and Beyond. Right? Most of us think that after we die, we don't exist. Everything is over. So Prabhupada, in this wonderful conversation with a interviewer from BBC, is going to reveal great truths for our understanding. So this is the part 1. Today we are going to understand. We'll continue. This is quite a wonderful conversation. It may take 2-3 sessions to complete the subject matter. Reincarnation and beyond. Prabhupada, His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada has been very, very instrumental in setting up worldwide spiritual movement to bring in people from different walks of life to the line of spiritual understanding in a very, very simple and very, very beautiful manner, so that people can take up the purpose of life, the purpose of human life, that is to achieve achieve liberation from the cycle of birth and death. So we offer our respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. So let's begin our discussion. As I told you, what follows or what we are going to understand in these sessions is going to be a recorded conversation from August of 1976 at the Bhaktivedanta Mandir, London, between Srila Prabhupada and Mike Robinson. So Mike Robinson is an interviewer from the London BBC, British Broadcasting Company. He inquires about various wonderful, simple questions he goes to ask about the science of the soul. And also like questions like, have you been here before? Will we again come back? So Prabhupada is taking references from various Vedic literatures and gives us very, very nice, wonderful answers, which are very relevant for our understanding in the present context. So let's begin the conversations. What are the topics of conversations? The first question, Mike Robinson, who is the BBC interviewer, he asks, can you tell me what you believe? What is the philosophy of Hare Krishna movement is? So Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness is not a question of belief. It is a science. It's a very striking answer, because mostly people think, I believe in this, I have faith in this, so I have to move forward in my life in this way. So Prabhupada is telling, no, Krishna consciousness is not a question of belief. It's a matter of science. Science means there's a theory, which is all properly with a very reasonable and a very logical manner. Theory is presented, and that theory is also practically proven. by the experiments and the practical aspect of many say walks of life. So this is called science. Science means it is a fact whether you test the experiment or rather you get the theory, understand the theory in America or India or Europe or any part of the world. That is called science. So Prabhupada is telling Hare Krishna movement, the philosophy of Hare Krishna movement is not a belief, it is rather a science. And Prabhupada presented the Hare Krishna movement's philosophy as a science only. Science means anywhere you follow these principles, anywhere you try to understand these principles, it's going to be universal. There is no change in the principles. That's the point. So Prabhupada further says, the first step is to know the difference between a living body and a dead body. In a body right now, this is the philosophy between a living body and a dead body. So what is the difference? The difference is that when someone dies, the spirit, soul, or the living force leaves the body, and therefore the body is called dead. Right? All of us have experienced this. That very well we wanted to, we want to see that we have our dear ones, people who are close to us, to live with us always. But the fact is that as sure as death, one has to leave this body. So what has left this body? Or whether the person whom you are considering to be your relative or your friend or your most dear one is lying there with his or her body, but he is no more responding, he is no more talking, he is no more interacting with you. What happened? So here Prabhupada is explaining, but actually what has happened is that excuse me, when someone dies, death means that the spirit, soul, or the living force leaves the body. It is a science. Everybody knows this, everybody accepts this. And therefore, the body is declared to be dead. So there are two things. One, this body, and the other, the living force within this body. When we speak of the living force within the body, we speak of the living force within the body. So Prabhupada is explaining the philosophy of Krishna consciousness in a scientific manner. The science actually. Nobody can deny this fact, right? So we have two aspects in our existence, our own existence. We have this body and a living force within the body. Living force means that the spirit, soul within the body. So Prabhupada is telling that we are speaking about the living force within the body. The spirit, soul within the body, we are talking about that actually. That is the difference between the science of Krishna consciousness, which is spiritual, and ordinary material science. A very simple presentation of what is Krishna conscious philosophy. Krishna conscious philosophy is dealing with the spirit, soul within the body. So this is the difference between Krishna consciousness, which is a spiritual science, compared to ordinary material science. As such, in the beginning, it is very, very difficult for an ordinary man to appreciate our movement. Right? Many activities which the Krishna conscious movement is doing or rather performing, sometimes it is not easy for an ordinary person to comprehend. Why are we worshipping an idol, people think. So whereas in Krishna conscious movement, we understand it's not an idol, it is Lord Krishna himself. Why are we vibrating Krishna's names repeatedly? Somebody may question. Right? That is what is a recommendation given by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. So like this, so many activities for an ordinary person or even a person who is practicing spirituality or practicing some faith, it may look like, what are we doing? Right? So Prabhupada is making this point that for an ordinary person or a simple person or a normal person, the various practices which we are following may appear to be difficult to, in the beginning, to understand. One must first understand that he is a soul or something other than his body. It is the beginning of a spiritual science. Right? We are not this simply body, we are spirit, soul within. This is the teaching of Bhagavad Gita, which Krishna is making us trying to make us understand from the very beginning. This is we can say it is the ABCD of spiritual life. So the interviewer, Mike Robinson, is curiously asking, when will we understand that you are not simply this body, your spirit, soul? Prabhupada says, you can understand at any moment, but it requires a little intelligence. Right? For example, as a child grows, he becomes a boy. A boy becomes a young man. The young man becomes an adult. And the adult becomes an old man. Right? So Prabhupada is telling, with little intelligence, because human being or the human life is actually bestowed with wonderful thinking capacity, wonderful discriminating capacity, the intellectual faculties there in us. That is the difference between humans and the other living entities, basically. So with little deliberation, if you can see what is going on in our life, in our body, just like Prabhupada is telling, a child grows, he grows into a boy, boy becomes a young man becomes an adult. An adult, further, as the life journey continues, he turns into an old man, right? This is what is happening with all our lives. Throughout all his time, although his body is changing from a child to an old man, he still feels himself to be the same person with the same identity, right? You never say that, oh, I have changed or I'm a different person. If you keep all your photographs from your childhood up to now, maybe you have become an adult and you're growing old, you never say it's a different person. It's me. Identify with that particular personality as mine, as me. So now you are changing your bodies, but your identity as a person remains the same. It's a very important principle which Krishna explains in the very beginning of Bhagavad Gita, that although this body is changing from childhood to youthhood to old age, the person himself feels, I am the same person. I'm not, actually only my body is changing, right? Just see, the body is changing, but the occupier of the body, the soul, is remaining the same. Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita beginning, Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara. As the soul is transmigrating from one body to other, from childhood to boyhood, boyhood to youthhood, youthhood to old age. But the occupier, the soul, is not changing. It's a very important principle which Prabhupada is bringing here. So we should logically conclude that when our present body dies, we get another body. The soul is the same, but the occupier of this body is the same. It's called Dehi. The Deha, the body is changing, right? So the logical conclusion is that when we leave this body, or what is called as death happens to us, so we will go to some other body, we'll get another body, right? So this is called transmigration of the soul. Dehantara praptihi. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, very beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. So this interviewer is being very, curious and is asking further questions. So when people die, it is just the physical body that dies, not the actual, they don't die. The physical body, what you have, is what is destroyed. So Prabhupada explains, yes, that is explained in Bhagavad Gita elaborately. Na jayate mriyate va tadachin na hanyate hanyamani sharire. That's what Bhagavad Gita explains very nicely. So when he hears Bhagavad Gita verse, this interviewer is curious to know what is this reference from? Do you often quote references? So Prabhupada says, yes, we quote many references because Krishna consciousness is a science, is a serious education, not an ordinary religion. Because what we say should be backed by some references, some standard references, just like in science also. Any branch of science, physics or chemistry or biology. When you say that this is what is the principle, you have examples, you have references being made. Similarly, Prabhupada says we quote references because Krishna consciousness is a serious education. Yes, see the way Prabhupada is presenting it. It's not like a sentimental or some imaginative or some fanatic way of presentation. No. It's not an ordinary religion, how people think, oh, just for the sake of doing it, we have to do it. It's some sentiment. No. It's a very serious education, and Prabhupada is pointing out to a devotee who is nearby disciple, find out the verse. This verse Prabhupada quoted from Bhagavad Gita. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyaha ajo nityah shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamani sharire. This is from Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, text 20. So it means for the soul there is neither birth, na jayate, na mriyate, nor death at any time. He is not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. A very significant statement made by Lord Krishna. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. You see, such a wonderful information Krishna is giving, knowledge Krishna is giving in Bhagavad Gita about our existence. When we realize that I don't die actually, I as a person don't die. What is dying or what death I'm experiencing is only my body. In fact, I have left many bodies, which means in this present situation of which I'm identifying as a person with this body, his body has changed. Right? So that's what Krishna is telling. Now the soul never dies. He's unborn, eternal, ever existing. He's not slain. Na hanyate hanyamane shari. Such a wonderful, profound truth Krishna is explaining in Bhagavad Gita about our existence. So the interviewer is thanking Prabhupada. Thank you very much for reading that. So can you explain to me just a little bit more? If the soul is undying, does everybody's soul go to be with God when they die? Very wonderful question. So if the soul is not dying, and after when we die, when this body, we leave this body, all the souls go to God after death? The Prabhupada answers, not necessarily. If one is qualified, if he qualifies himself in this life to go back home, back to Godhead, then he can go. This is exactly what Krishna is explaining in Bhagavad Gita. That yes, after the soul leaves this body, what happens to it is what Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita. The journey of the soul from this body to next, Krishna is explaining. And if you prepare yourself, which means if you qualify yourself to go to Krishna Loka, go back to the spiritual world, then the soul will be transferred to spiritual world or Krishna Loka. Qualification is required, Prabhupada is saying. If he does not qualify himself, what happens? Then he gets another material body. So the criteria is that qualification will make you go to God, go to spiritual world. If you don't qualify, it's like an examination. Whether you pass the examination or fail. If you pass the examination, what happens? You'll move to the next level. If you don't pass the examination, you'll remain where you are. Right? So, Mr. Prabhupada is telling, if you don't qualify, then you'll continue to have one more material body. And the next material body, what you're going to get, is depending on the 84 lakh different bodily forms. This is a very important aspect which all of us have to realize. If you don't qualify to go to spiritual world, Krishna, which means there is no more birth, no more death, no more old age, no more disease, then you have to continue our material existence, continue taking body after body in this material world. That is the point. So, according to his desires and karma, the laws of nature give him a suitable body. So, this is the principle working in the material world which Krishna has made, God has made. Based on your desires and the different activities you have performed, the laws of nature are working in a way, in a very subtle manner, to give you one more body at the time of death. It is explained by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Yam yam vapi smaran deham jajatyante kalevaram. Whatever mentality you have, means the sum total of all desires you have at the time of death, that type of body you're going to get, sure, definitely, Krishna says. Yam yam vapi smaran deham jajatyante kalevaram. So death is a very crucial moment in our life, which means when you leave this body, the mentality you are having, so that mentality will carry you to one more body. And like this, our life is going on. Life after life, life after life. So Prabhupada further elaborates on this point to make the interviewer understand the science behind this. It is like when a man contracts some disease and then develops a disease. Nowadays, there are so many contagious diseases. Just by sneezing, some viruses are transmitted, and you may contract a disease, right? Like that. So when a man contracts some disease, then he develops the disease. Suppose somebody has contracted smallpox. So after 7 days, he develops the symptoms. Not that immediately he'll develop, a little later, he'll develop the symptoms. So it's like, this is the incubation period of some time. So you cannot avoid it. So likewise, whatever activities we're doing now, whatever desires we're developing now, it is all accumulated in our subtle body. Mind, intelligence, false ego body, and all that is stored. So based on your prominent desires and the activities, what you are performing, based on that, next life is given by the laws of nature as directed by Krishna. So if you have contracted some disease, it will develop by nature's law. Right? So similarly, during this life, you associate with various modes of material nature, and that association will decide what kind of body you're going to get in the next life. Just see. So scientific it is. So during this life, whatever type of desires and activities you have been doing, just like you're very accustomed to eating, meat. I want to have non-vegetarian food always. So it's likely that next life you can get the body of a tiger, right? Or you are accustomed to, sleep for as many hours as possible. That's what these pictures are showing. And what next life you're going to get a body of a bear who sleeps for a long time. Like that, there are 84 lakh different species of life having different types of lifestyles. Each species has a different lifestyle. So whatever you desire based on your activities, you will get that body. It is strictly under the laws of nature. Everyone is controlled with the laws of nature. They are completely dependent. But out of ignorance, people think that they are free. So our every desire, every activity is noted down in a subtle manner. And actually, we are not free. That's what is, that's what we have to understand. Out of our own shortcomings, or say we don't have proper understanding, out of ignorance, we think that I am free, but I'm completely under the laws of nature, subtle laws of nature working. They are not free. They are imagining that they are free, but they are completely under the laws of nature. Right? Because the very fact that our body, what type of body I've got, what happens after death, they are all unknown to the modern society. The laws of nature are working in a very, very subtle manner, in a very, very imperceptible manner. Right? So all of us are completely under the laws of nature. Nobody is free. But if you imagine I am free, that is our foolishness. So next birth will be decided according to your activities. Whatever activities you have done, whether punya, papas, pious or sinful, as the case may be, based on desire and karma. Right? Based on your Ichha and Karma, you will get your next birth. So further, this interviewer is asking, Your Grace, would you go back over that just for a minute? You said that nobody is free. Are you saying that if we live a good life, we in some way determine a good future for ourselves? Interviewer is asking. So what which Prabhupada says, yes. So if you qualify, that's what Prabhupada mentioned in the beginning of this conversation. If you qualify yourself, qualification means you lead your life as per the directions given by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Further, Prabhupada says, so further this interviewer is asking, so we are free to choose what we believe to be important. Religion is important because we believe in God and lead a good life. So again, he's talking about belief. Prabhupada says, it's not a question of belief. Do not bring in this question of belief. It is law. Whether you believe or don't believe, the law functions. Right? For instance, there is a government. You may believe or not believe, but if you break the law, you will be punished by the government. Right? The traffic law is that you have to abide by traffic law. If you say, I don't believe in traffic laws, I'll just go on the way I want to drive the vehicle. When there is a traffic signal of red light, I'll not stop, I'll just move. You believe or don't believe, the law will act upon you. Immediately the police will catch you. Because you're causing disturbance to other people. Right? So you'll be punished by the government if you break the law, whether you believe or not believe. Similarly, whether you believe or don't believe, there is a God. And God's laws are working. They are called the laws of nature, laws of karma. So if you don't believe in God and you independently do whatever you like, you'll be punished by the laws of nature. The laws of nature are very, very stringent. And they are acting actually, whether you can escape the laws of the state or the police or etc., etc. But you cannot escape the laws of nature. Whether you believe or you don't believe in God, or you're doing so many things, finally, the laws of nature is recording all your activities and you will be given a proper punishment for this. There's a nice book called Laws of Nature, the teachings compiled from His Divine Grace, Prabhupada. I recommend that you read this book also, available in any of our centers and also online. Does it matter what religion you believe? Would it matter if one was a devotee of Krishna? Very nice question again. Right, so what you are following is what matters. It's not a question of belief. Laws of nature do work. So what religion you believe, does it matter? It's the question. So Prabhupada says it's not a question of religion, it's a question of science. So Prabhupada is telling, now people generally understand religion as some sentiment or some sort of a philosophical understanding. No. Prabhupada says it's a question of science. Just like Prabhupada explained, how in our own body we are changing, in our own present life, we're changing many bodies. But I as a person, spirit, soul is the same person. So it's not a matter of religion or some sentimental or some aspect of some ritual. No, it's a question of science. You are a spiritual being, but because you are materially conditioned, you are under the laws of material nature. A very significant statement Prabhupada is making. We are all spirit souls, spiritual beings. Right now, many material conditions are making me to act and function in a particular way. I am completely under the laws of material nature. Right now, the season is slowly changing from rainy season to winter season. You can't control this, which means you are forced to go through this change of weather conditions. If there is severe sunshine today, I don't have any control on that. Right? I have to simply tolerate it. So like this, the laws of nature are enforced on every living entity in the material world without any mercy. So it's called stringent laws of nature. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Daivi Esha Gunamayi Mavamaya Duratyaya. The laws of nature are so stringent that they are enforced upon every living entity without any mercy. Right? That is called material conditioning. This is a fact which we have to identify and recognize. You may believe in the Christian religion and I may believe in Hindu religion that But that does not mean that you're going to become an old man and I am not. Right? If you think, oh, in my religion, it is said that I will not become old. Whereas in your religion, it is said you become old. It's not a question of belief. It's not some sentiment or some sort of a understanding or some together we have come together and decided something. No, it's not that. The laws of nature are equal and it is applicable to everyone in a very, very uncompromising manner. Whether in whatever faith you are following, you have to grow old with your body. So Prabhupada says we are talking of the signs of growing old. Old age is one of the aspects of our life, journey of our life. You are born, you stay for some time, you produce children, then you start growing old. Right? This is the law of nature. Who has made this law of nature? Krishna has made this law of nature. It's not that because you are Christian, you are becoming old, or because I'm Hindu, I'm not becoming old. Everyone is becoming old. Which means the laws of nature of birth, death, old age, disease is equally applicable to anybody in this material world, any living entity in the material world, whatever type of body you have, whatever nationality you have, whatever type of faith you follow. Similarly, all the laws of nature are applicable to everyone. Whether you believe this religion or that religion, it doesn't matter. So Prabhupada is very nicely presenting the whole philosophy of Krishna consciousness as a science. This is what you have to observe here. So you're saying that there's only one God controlling all of us? It's a question which this interviewer is asking, Mike Robinson is asking. Prabhupada says, yes, there's only one God and one nature's law. And we are all under the nature's law. We are controlled by the Supreme. So if we think that we are free or that we can do anything we like, that is our foolishness. And there is one supreme government of God, and under his direction, everything is going on. Lord Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, Maya Dhyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. Under my supervision, under my superintendence, everything is going on in the material world. The material nature is working under my control, Krishna says. So, in one sense, we are all controlled by the laws of nature, which is directed by Krishna. So, if you think I'm free and I can do whatever I want, that is our foolishness. So, now the interviewer is asking one more significant question. Can you explain to me what is the difference, what difference it makes being a member of the Hare Krishna movement? Because you are propagating philosophy, understanding that is different from what we are following, what the interviewer thinks. So Prabhupada says, the Hare Krishna movement is meant for those who are serious about understanding this science. Which science? The science about the living entity, the science about the soul, the science about what happens to us after life, after death, the science of why we are here. This is called scientific understanding. Right? So Hare Krishna movement is not simply sectarian or it's not sentimental. It is for those who are serious about understanding this science. Prabhupada says there's no question of our being some sectarian group. No. Oh, we belong to this religion, we belong to this community, we belong to this type of a group. No, nothing like that. It is universal, it's meant for everyone. Anyone can join. Students in college can be admitted. Because all of us are actually spirit souls. Just that we have got different bodies. In different places, circumstances, situations, all of us have different type of backgrounds. But all of us are spirit soul, all said and done. So anyone can join. Students also can join. You may be a Christian, you may be a Hindu, you may be a Mohammedan, it doesn't matter. We don't designate ourselves, or not that we have this designation, that designation. No, we don't mind. Everybody is Krishna's, other God's children, and all of us have to understand the science of what is going on in our life. The Krishna consciousness movement admits anyone who wants to understand the science of God. In fact, Prabhupada went all over the world. Across the globe, he traveled 14 times in a short time of 11 years. When he was 70 years old, he headed to America. So from 70th year to 81st year, 11 years, Prabhupada traveled extensively 14 times across the globe, established 108 Krishna conscious centers to give this science of Bhagavad Gita to everybody. And what difference would it make to someone who being taught how to be a Krishna conscious person? Because it's a very important aspect. Oh, you're a Krishna conscious person, or you're taught in the science of Krishna consciousness. What is the difference of that person and the other person who is not being taught? So Prabhupada says, his real education would begin. So clear-cut, straightforward answer Prabhupada is giving. The first thing is to understand that you are a spirit soul. It's a very basic understanding. Right? Now the real education is that I am not this body, I am spirit soul. And because you are a spirit soul, you are changing your body. This is something very, very basic understanding. I am spirit soul, I am not this body. And because I am in this body is changing. If I leave this body, then this body will not change. Just like in the womb of the mother, if there's no spirit soul in that growing child, developing embryo, the child is born dead. It will not grow. So this is the ABC of spiritual understanding. Very basic understanding, which Krishna is teaching us, which we have to understand. It's like when you go to kindergarten, what you're taught? You're taught ABC 1, 2, 3. This is what later on you're going to build up on this. So if you don't even know the basic things in spiritual life, what you are, then other things you'll not be able to understand, appreciate. It is the ABC of spiritual understanding. When your body is finished, annihilated, you are not finished. Right? This is what we heard from Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. You're eternal. You don't take birth. You don't die. You're unborn. Right? When his body is dead, you don't die. This is the understanding. Right? You get another body, just as you may change your coat and shirt. Today, I'm wearing a white coat, white shirt. Tomorrow, I may change it to some other color shirt. Like that, we are changing our body like this, changing our shirt and coat. If you come to see me tomorrow wearing a different shirt and a different coat, does that mean you are a different person? No. The same person in different dresses. Similarly, each time you die, you change bodies, but you, the spirit soul within the body, remain the same. The spirit soul does not change. That's what Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita. That dhiras tatrana muhyadi. One who is a sober person, intelligent person, he will not be bewildered by this change of bodies. He knows that I am, as the spirit person, is the same. Only these bodies are changing. This point has to be understood. Then one can make further progress in science of Krishna consciousness. This is what is the difference between an ordinary person and a person who is taken up the science of Bhagavad Gita, science of Krishna consciousness. Right? So we will continue our discussions in the next session again. So if anybody has anything to ask, discuss, comment, we can take a few questions. So we also have online, this being telecasted. I request the host to tell me if any questions online is there. Yes, so these are all very important and basic understanding which we are trying to give you through these teachings of Prabhupada. See, so nicely, to a Westerner, a foreigner who doesn't even have any understanding of what is a Vedic culture, Prabhupada is so in a simple manner explaining the whole philosophy of Krishna consciousness, Bhagavad Gita philosophy, in a way that is very appealing to him. That's the whole beauty of this presentation. Right? So we'll continue our discussions in the next session again. Thank you everybody for joining us today on this wonderful Sunday. Hare Krishna.